So this week's anime collection update comes, already out of the package, mostly because of One Piece, which, as you can see, is already opened. This was high priority watch for me and my friend. So I'm not sure that there's much to show. The insides pretty much look the same, so it's mostly the cover itself that's neat, I suppose. But yeah, that's already open. I guess this part will be relatively quick. We've got My Life as Inukai-san's dog. Okay, it looks pretty perverted. I looked and I didn't see any orders for this historically on Amazon, so I think this isn't a re-release. But yeah, we have it. Let me look at this on the side, because that was a pretty... Yeah, that's yeah, okay, yeah, it's not even any worse than what the back shows. So I'm guessing you either see this through the point of view of the dog or the main character's dog. But I'm not sure. Region A, Japanese with English subtitles only. And then this is probably the more notable release this week. Spy Family for the win. And this is the limited edition version of Season 1 Part 2. There we go. I knew I could feel something there. As long as we're looking at the back, your mission, briefing, and spy provisions. That's, ooh, cufflinks, notepad, vinyl sticker, 3 art cards, 40-page art book. Content-wise, it's regions A and B. You should have a dub with it. So dub and sub. Cool. Sorry, I'm comparing this. I have a Season 1 Part 1. We'll merge these together shortly. This is just kind of a happy thing. I don't know. I felt like reading that. I guess you might be able to pause and read that if you're really interested. Let's begin. So we got Lloyd. Why am I forgetting yours name? Oh, different underneath the slipcover. So you kind of have all 4 major members of the family together. It's pretty cool. Got one loose piece of blue plastic. Let's move that out of the way. Still somewhere in there, but I kind of lost track of it underneath my finger. Interesting. Let's see, something isn't quite settling right with it. That's a bit better. Cool. And based on where this was definitely on the bottom. So next we're going to take a look at this. Interesting. I think this is supposed to sort of be the booklet, but it's very newspaper-esque. That said, let's be careful with this, because I'm feeling like I'm having trouble. Hopefully that was it. Didn't feel like that damaged anything. If it did, I guess it's unfortunate, but fortunately for, who is this? Crunchy roll? Yeah, well, fortunately, there will be video evidence of, oh, look, that was something he did himself. Oh my god. This plastic, though, is definitely being tenacious and not wanting to. Oh, there we go. See, this is weird, because if this is an art booklet, it's definitely in the form of a newspaper. Okay, so this seems to be something in order to contain it. But this is very newspaper-esque. We see a crossword here. Okay. This is definitely a lot harder to look at than most normal inserts. You see, they're not stapled together or anything. It's supposed to be very newspaper-esque. But, I don't know. I'm also guessing it's not perfectly that, because, you know, like, in good ways. So, like, we've got Lloyd Forger there, but also Lloyd Forger there. Oh, I missed Anya somehow. Bond. This is definitely getting a little smaller, so we're seeing more side characters. Although ridiculously important side characters, of course. Maybe a couple here that we've only seen. Well, him only seen once. This is actually pretty cool. Oh, recipe corner. Props. Artboards. Yeah, I don't usually go through it this slow, but this is definitely a unique presentation. Japanese cast dialogue. That's a lot of dialogue. Japanese cast dialogue. Japanese cast dialogue. Definitely feel like there's a couple pieces of paper there. English cast Q&A. Then we're back here, and there's a little strange crease there. Fortunately, it doesn't feel too bad. Let's see if I put that there. Let's take a look at what's in here. This would be all the other extras. Looked a little bit, but that's okay. I believe these would be the cufflinks. Just make sure I got everything out of there. Okay. I'm actually going to take this out of its plastic. I'm having trouble actually grasping the plastic to remove it the rest of the way. There we go. So annoying. I'm not expecting much more on the inside since this is a notebook. That's pretty cool. Hold on. This is the sticker. Okay. These are art cards. Let's take a look at the art cards. There should be 4 of them for each of the members of the Forger family. Man, I'm having so much trouble just grabbing onto the plastic today. It's so annoying. Let's try going a little further that way. Now I've got my hands on this. This is annoying. All I want to do is get in there and just get it started. I think I see 3. I thought there was 4. Sort of feels like maybe I misread the back. What did the back say? 3 art cards. Okay. With the Anya one kind of being interestingly different, but it's a really great style for the other 2. And you know, while we're at it, I want to take a look at the inside of this again, because we had the whole family. The whole family. Interesting. Kind of wanted to see how that compared to Season 1, Part 2 there. We should be able to put this back in there and have the complete picture. That's what the two of them together look like. And with that, here's this week's physical anime collection update. Alright, let's begin with One Piece, you know. This is Season 13, Voyage 5. 13, Voyage 5. I think the stuff that's going on in it is interesting and entertaining. I just kind of have an issue where it also feels like it does drag on a bit. It does feel like it's always moving forward, but it also just feels like it drags on. And it's hard to tell if it's going to feel like it pays off or not, because it keeps doing all these roller coaster feeling things with stuff. I don't know. Guess I'm trying to think, because there have been nods to other things in the One Piece universe that we've seen happen in this, but the big events are still happening here that are, you know, here in Season 13. So I guess we'll see where it goes, but yeah, I don't know. I guess I just don't know what to think. There's some of it where it's like, yeah, the show does tire me, but I don't know. Historically, it's also been kind of good in where it chooses to crescendo and what important things it does, and I'm definitely curious about the story end of Macro. But yeah. Villainous level 99. Let's see what happened in this episode. It's a pretty funny episode, I would think. There's some other nice developments. You know, it'd be a top tier villainous show if there wasn't another one in this current Aaron season that I consider better. But that really says more about how good that other one is than anything bad about this one. In fact, the 3 villainous shows I'm watching, I think they're all entertaining. The Gushing Over Magical Girls, episode 7. I think this is back to goodness. Like I said, the previous 2 episodes, it felt like it was maybe a little distracted with Nero Alice. Perfectly fine character. But to me, a bit of a distraction, because they had the main character and they had this thing going on with her. And episode 7, I don't know that it necessarily was designed for developing her, per se. But it does so in terms of what happened in this episode and other stuff that we've seen that's been building up till now. In particular, the interesting aspect of how our main character interacted with it. I don't know how to really talk about it without spoiling too much, but just to say, I felt like this was an episode that led up to something that's like, yeah, this is good. This is feeling like it's exploring something interesting about the characters. Or rather, about our main character. So, I actually really liked it. Classroom of the Elite, Season 3, Episode 7. Let's see what happened in this episode. I guess it's continuing to do what this season has been doing. Not necessarily bad stuff. Maybe not necessarily the most awesome, spectacular stuff. Entertaining, but interesting. I guess I kind of remember where it ended. Maybe kind of where the previous episode ended. But I didn't remember last week when I talked about it. So anyways, this week I kind of remember where this one's ending, and it's an okay season. I guess we'll just have to see if it kind of has some sort of big payoff. It's also possible that Season 2 might have been big payoff, but I just didn't feel it because I think I watched all of Season 2 in one go. And since I'm watching Season 3 as it airs, I'm wondering if this is a show that's one of those shows that's just better if you get to watch an entire season in a blob. A binge series. I don't know. Dr. Elise, the Royal Lady with the Lamp, Episode 6. Not a particularly exciting episode, I would think, but good setup. So, like, not exciting in terms of the premise, but rather just good, okay, here it's setting up for whatever's about to happen next, and presumably whatever's about to happen next is our main character doing what we like to watch the main character do. But it's a good episode for just kind of building up the stakes, so to speak. Not sure what else to say about it. Delicious in Dungeon, episode 7. That. I'm pretty sure it's more than just those handful of things I'm thinking about. An entertaining episode. Again, it continues to be interesting and amusing. Just creative. There's good action in it too, but it's not action that I think you feel like there's something at stake per se. Because while the show does have a thing at stake, it's also kind of like, it's hard to take the stakes too seriously because it feels like the show is a bit of a silly setup. But, you know, again, it's about watching it and saying, huh, it's kind of amusing and entertaining. So, you know, continuing to be that sort of show. Mind's and Death Ability is so overpowered. Episode 7. Trying to remember. You had entertaining stuff in it, but I would say this episode kind of showed the first really interesting interaction with our character's OP ability. Which isn't to say that his interactions before and up to now haven't been entertaining, but this one was really entertaining and kind of really relevant to what it has set up. So, a fun episode. This may just be a show where maybe the execution was slightly less than perfect, but not necessarily unentertaining. I mean, maybe not everybody likes it, but I thought episode 7 here ended with a, oh, interesting. Now let's see, Sasaki and Peeps, episode 7. I do appreciate how this show continues to do some weird, interesting juggling with its concepts. Like, I guess the previous episode kind of did as well. It's dealing with a lot of different colliding world concepts that normally any one is what an anime is about. But this one isn't really about any of those. This is just kind of an interesting platform, really, and it's more... There's a little bit of a chillness and just kind of watching... I don't know, our main character be kind of an interesting salaryman to a certain degree. An old experienced one and not a young, naive, and dead-eyed. In other words, you know, he might not have the easiest job, but he's kind of successfully niched. And I don't know. Interesting stuff. Definitely enjoying the series. Unwanted Undead Adventurer, episode 7. I thought it was also an interesting episode, although, you know, it's kind of interesting how both Sasaki and Peeps and Unwanted Undead Adventure kind of have a similar thing where, okay, there's a really secret thing going on here, but more bits and pieces of it leak to more people, which is realistic, and it might be fine. I don't know. I guess if there's anything about those that kind of feel at issue, I don't feel like Sasaki and Peeps, it feels too bad. Unwanted Undead Adventure, it doesn't feel bad, but it does feel like there is some risk of the show losing focus of what it's kind of been aimed at. I don't think it doesn't feel like a very big risk, but it does feel like, I guess this makes sense and this is neat to see. I have some questions about the execution of some of it. But I don't know how to really talk about it without spoiling things, so it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a little weird, but also kind of touching, and I don't know, I guess we'll just have to see what the show is deciding to do with it. Free Run, Beyond Journey's End, episode 23. We actually got some really good insight into why Free Run is always falling for mimics. And it's quite entertaining. Episode in general is very nice. I like the fact that, you know, they've kind of established, okay, at this point we're all enemies in a couple episodes ago, but they're not setting those people up to necessarily be enemies. But the way it ended this episode is kind of a very oh shit moment. very neat episode. The series continues to be really great. The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic, episode 7. I'm not sure if I'd call any moment in this one a really big one. I really do like when the main character... I liked the scene where the main character was hanging out with the other male character that came from the world. So it's like not complete harem fest or anything like that. Even though it also wasn't doing that before this point. But I do like the fact that, you know, they just chatted and chilled like good dudes, you know? I definitely appreciated that. I wouldn't say it's necessarily the most exciting thing, but I don't know. I guess it's more of the transition set up for what's maybe going to happen next. We'll have to see what maybe going to happen next. The Weakest Tamer began a journey to pick up trash, episode 6. Okay, yeah, a lot of really neat stuff in that episode. Especially stuff that's just been the little things that built up, and again, it's staying a simple story about our main character, Ivy, finding their way through the world. Finding their place in the world, even though they are in a strange position. But, I don't know, their interactions with the characters around them continue to be really neat. And then there was that thing, which, you know, that was also, oh, that's very nice. It feels like a show where you will have a feeling of meaning by the end of it. Not necessarily that if you think about it logically, you're like, well, maybe this doesn't logically make sense. But maybe that feeling of, I don't know, I guess you're really anticipating that our main character reaches their final destination, and you just are left with this sense of belonging that they're gonna hopefully find. We're hoping for that for them. Who knows if it's going to be really bad for them as they keep going. I don't know. Solo Leveling, episode 7. I'm trying to remember everything that happened in here. I guess entertaining enough stuff. You know, the action is good enough. I do appreciate the fact that you do have some idea of the stakes at play. It's not like my problem with Shangri-La is that, you know, they kind of animate stuff that would be good action, but for me, there doesn't really feel like any actual stakes. So it feels like kind of meaningless, but this show definitely doesn't have that. At the same time, though, it is really hard to gauge how absolutely everything should feel. But it's entertaining enough to watch the character and know, okay, so we know he's doing really good. You know, he's solo leveling, he's doing better. I'm definitely curious to see how that impacts other people around him, because they have been smart enough to not say, oh yes, well, he's becoming powerful, but it doesn't mean anything to anyone around him. They're keeping just enough meaning for it to feel worthwhile, feel neat, feel connected. Lots of good stuff. So, again, I think it's a series that feels like it'd be better to be binge watching. Strongest Tanks Labyrinth Raids, episode 7. Okay, enough, I guess. We got to see the characters doing dungeon raiding. I think that's a rough description of pretty much what this episode was. Fine enough. Tales of Wedding Rings, episode 7. Again, everything is better other than those pieces of shit in the Elf Kingdom who all deserve to be turned into dog poo. We're introduced to a new kingdom with a new thing, and I do appreciate the fact that the show is showing its variety by not making it a, oh yes, the entirety of this next kingdom is, you know, hey, he's gonna establish thing with the next ring girl. And while I think that is actually still technically happening, I think it's like, it's kind of put that out of the way as not something that we need to worry about, and instead setting up other interesting stuff that is related to the world at large and the mission at hand, and should be interesting to see if it also leads to, I don't know, certain thoughts I have. So, okay enough episode. Where did it end? Don't remember. Fluffy Paradise, episode 8. Let's see. Okay, yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to remember everything and entertaining enough stuff that happened. What happened in that town? They started looking around. Okay. Yeah, entertaining enough stuff to watch. So it's not just, you know, it's continuing to not just be a series about, oh yeah, she goes from fluffy thing to fluffy thing. You know, there is a developing story idea, unraveling plot sort of thing, which, if this show makes it kind of relevant to her original mission being sent there, feels actually pretty fine. So, you know, it's okay. Banished from the hero's party, I decided to live a quiet life in the countryside. Season 2, episode 7. I guess it's done a good job of making us realize that there is a overall plot thread throughout this entire season. Like, other things are like, it seems like they resolved the thing, it seems like they resolved the thing, but it's trying to let us know that there is an important thing going on. An underlying thread. It'll be interesting to see what it is. There's been a lot of just nice developments. You know, it's still a mostly calm series, but with these elements of something building up, I suppose. Working out pretty well. 7th Time Loop, episode 7. I'd say this was a very nice episode. We got a little bit of that, we got a little bit of that, we got a little bit of that. It builds on top of the main concept really well and integrates it really strongly with the shoujo elements that, you know, is the framework of the show as well. So if it's got two different frameworks, a shoujo framework because it's a shoujo show, a villainous show. Most of those are shoujos, I guess. Level 99 might not be. I wonder if Lady Elise might not, or Dr. Elise. Oh, whatever. If that's one framework, and another framework would be the underlying premise. I think it's continuing to do a good job of keeping both of those pretty solid. And this episode, I think, is a good example of the marriage between those frameworks, where our main character's relationship with the prince is highly driven by the framework and not just, oh, well, we've established this in order to get them in the right place. No, she's doing interesting things related to the fundamental premise. And his interactions with her are, you know, related to the fundamental premise. It feels like a really good combination of those things. It's been a great show. Highly appreciating it. Tsukimichi, Moonlight Fantasy, Season 2, Episode 7. What'll happen in this episode? And you'd think I'd remember better because I watched it just a couple hours ago, but, let's see. I think it's a nice catch-up episode. Like, the previous episode had some good conflict in it. This one had some interesting, more world-building going on, which I thought I felt like this season was maybe doing a little bit slower, not, like, egregiously slow, but, a little slower. And I think it's because this is actually a 2-core season. Like, it sounded like Season 2 is a 24-episode thing, and Season 1 was only 12 episodes. Or 13 episodes, I don't remember which. In which case, it would make sense. And it doesn't feel like they're saying, oh, well, let's take 1 core worth of stuff and drag it out to 24 episodes. It does feel like maybe it's slightly dragged, but not too bad. So, you know, saying all that, contents of this episode, more interesting stuff shown, and actually, I'm really looking forward to the next episode because I'm pretty sure, even though they didn't explicitly say it, the implication is that there's a callback to a Season 1 concept, which means that the interaction that is about to happen in the next episode could potentially be really interesting. Could also be junk, but, you know, this show's been done a pretty good job in general. Season 2, I felt like it started off with a good first episode and a little bit slow, but, you know, gotten up to speed, so I'm looking forward to seeing more. And then, last but not least, 'tis time for Torture Princess, Episode 7. Another amusing episode. I mean, it's kind of like Delicious in Dungeon, and I think I've said this before, in that you know, it's really just about, oh, that's amusing. I'm kind of entertained by just watching the show be creative. And some of the things it's doing that are creative are mostly just, oh, here's simple slice of life stuff. But I don't know, it just manages to execute things in just the right way where I'm always slightly amused. It's a good calming end to my anime week. You know, assuming that, you know, once I watch it, then I record this video, all that stuff. But, you know, fun little series. So, do I have anything else to really talk about? Video game wise, I guess I've played some Dead by Daylight, just some Dead by Daylight. I've completed all the kill challenges in the latest tome. I don't think that says too much. There's only one of them that's really tricky. And since I play in low MMR, usually means I can find ways to get these tricky situations. In this case, there's one where as the Death Slinger you have to spear somebody who's in the middle of repairing a generator or healing another person. So I went in with a build that's designed to highly encourage situations like that. The main ways it does that is, let's see, I think, so first of all I have Plaything, because if people are oblivious and they don't know I'm coming, that means I can go around the corner when they're healing and get them, and I also have Nurses Calling for that. I had Tinkerer to, you know, go undetectable when somebody's on the gen about to finish it, which makes it more likely for me to get up there and hook them. And then I think I was going with Monitor and Abuse for the fourth one to try and make my terror radius smaller than the radius of Nurses Calling. And that never actually paid off. I thought one time I'd gotten somebody while they were in the middle of healing, but I think they kept noticing me and letting go in time. Eventually I managed to hook everybody with Plaything, but what ended up giving me the two hooks I needed was, there was a Dwight that was he was pretty sure that I wasn't being lethal, and I'm like, yeah, sure, keep working on Jen. I'm like, wait a second. Just speared him. I didn't swing at him. You know, I let him break free and then nodded him to let him know, keep going. I was just getting my freebie. And then eventually I snuck up on the Ada while she was almost about to finish a gen, doing Tinker and speared her. And since everybody had been hooked by then, I wasn't downing anybody else. Instead, I did that, and then I was just happy, and then no longer attacking people, and just leading them to those Plaything hexes so that they could cleanse and get good blood points. Because at that point I was being nice. But that's the point, is, you know, the Ada could have been a pretty fresh player, but I'm pretty sure the Dwight, while he wasn't like an experienced juicer, he kind of played enough to read the room. The Kate seemed to as well. Could have been on a comm with him, I don't know, but you know, the two of them are the ones who ended up following me and cleansing all the stuff. And then I think the Jake, I'm trying to think. Oh no, I guess I had a couple Jakes. I think there was a Jake in that match, and he was just like skittery, and that's fine. You know, I think he was a very new player. But I was also thinking of a Billy one I did where you needed to. This was from an older tome challenge where you need to hit somebody with a chainsaw sprint at least 20 meters or more. And that match was unfortunate because I got it right off the bat. Like, you know, I had lethal, so I knew exactly where they started, and I started running for the one that I thought I might be able to reach with a chainsaw sprint from the very beginning. That would be my 20 meters easily. And the Jake is like, oh, he's coming, and he was looking the wrong way. He was hiding on a corner, hoping not to be seen, but then realized at the last second that I was right there, and he went down. He was spooked the entire rest of the match, which was quite unfortunate because there were two Fangs, both dressed with the red lunar outfit, I believe. The lunar bunny outfit. Maybe it wasn't a lunar one. It's at least a red bunny outfit. And, I don't know. Everybody else seemed to be new, spooked enough that they were reluctant to do unhooks. And so when I hooked the first Fang, maybe, yeah, it should be Feng. I know, whatever. When I hooked her, You know, I was on the opposite side of the map so that they would have a chance to unhook her without any problems. But nobody did, and by the time I got back, she was on second, so I'm like, I guess they're working on gens and hiding and all that, so I should just stand next to her to let her meet her build, but she decided to kill herself on hook. Like, maybe they thought that, you know, oh my god, he's a fucking camping killer, but the truth of the matter is, I was trying to get them off the hook because none of the other survivors were coming up and doing it. You know, I tried to do that while staring, looking in a direction where it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to see anybody coming up to unhook you. Hopefully, though, there wasn't some idiot that was waiting nearby that waited until the literal last second. I didn't think so because a generator popped in the middle of it, and I'm pretty sure that was the Jake, and he was just, again, scared and doing a generator out the middle of nowhere. But I don't know. It was unfortunate because, you know, she killed herself on hook when if somebody came up and unhooked her, I wasn't going to hook her again because she had already been double hooked. I was a little angry, but I wasn't quite sure who to blame because the Yui was in a locker. I don't know if they were AFK because as soon as I took them out, they started wiggling. And not that initial wiggle, but actual trying to wiggle out. So it's like, oh, I don't know. And I eventually had to go back to them and stand next to them, let them unhook themselves when they reached second hook. But they actually unhooked themselves. So I didn't know what to think about all of it. I did get them all to second hook, which normally I don't. But mostly that meant that I hooked the Kate a second time, and then when I found... Not the Kate. I hooked the other thing a second time, and then I spent the match just kind of ignoring them. I think they kind of figured out I was ignoring them. Because I was looking for that Jake, because in my mind, maybe he was worth killing, because it's like... How could you leave somebody to die on first hook like that? Especially when the killer went on the complete opposite side of the map. Again, I think he was spooked. So I second hooked him, he was unhooked, and then, yeah, that's right. Yeah, because the Jake was probably really new, because the other two people, they managed to leave through the exit gates, no problem. I was just patrolling back and forth, because I'm like, oh, that Jake must be waiting for me to, you know, teabag on his way out or something like that. But no, he was just... He appeared to be lost in the middle of the map, so I downed him and dragged him to an exit gate and let him leave. He didn't have a key or anything, so I didn't think it was something like that. Oh well. Weird stuff. Anyways, I don't remember why I was saying this. I was probably bringing up Dead by Daylight mostly because of the teaser stuff. While I haven't watched it all, read it all in complete detail, the stuff I've seen is nice and spooky. So definitely looking forward to seeing what the new killer is going to be like. I think that comes out tomorrow. You know, the same day I'm posting this video for y'all. So by the time y'all watch this, I think that shell have already been revealed, and those of you who are Dead by Daylight fans would say, oh yeah, that's a really spooky creature. Because it looks like something that's maybe human-shaped, but wearing the skin of a human to kind of make it look sort of human, but it's dangerous. It wants to eat us. Or something like that. You know, something really spooky like that. Oh well. Lots of stuff. Hopefully y'all enjoyed my babbling if y'all stayed this long. Otherwise, yeah, I guess I should wrap things up there. Y'all, have a nice week.